What is happening, you beautiful asses? Welcome back to another week. This week, you get to see us two again.
No guest, just the two beautiful bastards.
Shooting the shit.
Shooting the shit as always. We know some of you guys love that. Andy, what are we talking about today?
Oh, God, we go everywhere. From the slap heard across the world to racing kids to beating. No.
Yes, that we give you the secret to beating your children into submission.
The one thing we don't hit today, which I was happy, is politics.
No politics. We're done with that. We're taking a little break. But of course, we do open up with the slapping, as you said. It's not as controversial on this show as you guys might think it is, but we go into detail on the changing workforce as well. That's something near and dear to my heart as someone who has gone from doing the shittiest job in trades to now effectively Andy and I do engineering testing for the government. So it's a big difference. And looking at how people no longer want to do that sort of thing, I don't know, breaks my heart.
Do you want to do that kind of thing, Jerry?
No.
But anyways, hopefully you guys enjoy it.
What is happening, you beautiful bastards?
You know what I do find interesting is, about the slapping.
Yes, of course. Who doesn't? Fucking everywhere.
That is so fucking blown out of proportion. It's out of control.
Mm-hmm. By so many people.
Before I go further on that, what are your thoughts on this?
On what happened?
Yeah.
Oh,
specifically, what's in question is Will Smith's actions. What's your opinion?
Like, do I think it was okay or no?
Whatever you think about it. I don't care, Griz. I'm not your dad.
I think it's fine. I mean, him and Chris are buddies, and fucking. I usually myself, like in life, I look at wife jokes and I consider them off limits.
Generally speaking, yeah.
Obviously, Chris didn't know what was going on with her and her hair.
Mm-hmm.
But did it warrant a slap? Probably not. But if he did, I'd probably if I was in Chris Rock's shoes, I'd be like, "What the fuck?" And I'd talk to him later about it. But
I did like Chris Rock's reaction, where he just was like, "Wow, Will Smith just slapped the shit out of me."
That just fucking happened.
And he just moved on.
To me, it says more about Will Smith and his relationship.
I think it does. I don't think less of Will for what he did. I think it was a bad choice.
So do you know what I do think less of him about? Is I did not know before all of this that he's a Scientologist.
Yeah, actually, you know what? That caught me by surprise too.
Yeah. Once I knew that, I went, fuck.
Yeah. But overall, I don't think less of Will for doing that. People make mistakes, and it wasn't really a severe one. The only reason people are freaking out is because it's on TV, it's a celebrity, and to talk about. People like to what's that word called? There's a term for this. No, there's a term for this.
Not sensationalized?
No, like they're basically posturing. Oh, virtue signal. It's just a virtue signal most of these people are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I watched Jim Carrey's response to it. I don't know if you saw that. It was just a quick little interview.
Nope.
And he was like, I would have sued Will for $200 million. That's on the internet forever. It's not that big a deal. Joke? No, he was dead serious.
Was he really?
Like this was a lucid moment for Jim Carrey.
I mean, Jim's kind of fucking on the edge.
Well, that's why I said this was a lucid moment for him. He definitely didn't approve of it. Obviously, he was like, I would have sued him. Except for like the crazy shit that he said. Yeah, he's kind of right. He shouldn't have done that. But the thing that bothers me about all this,
that doesn't bother me either. But I'm also
no. Like the whole incident doesn't bother me. Like really, I can't describe the level of I don't care about a famous person slapping another famous person. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's pretty minuscule.
But what bothers me is, especially in the media, they're trying to turn this into a race issue, which doesn't make sense. Like when I watched that happen, never once did I even think this was a black guy doing this, or what if a white guy did this? Never once crossed my mind.
How are they trying to turn it into a racist?
There's all kinds of different angles. I don't have any examples for who wrote what anymore.
Will
because
Smith is magically a white man in a black man's body.
Yeah, but all these weird accusations are flying from every direction from all these shitty tabloids.
I swear so much of it is either A, like people trying to be over the top because they'll get views, or
Mhm.
they're trying to be trolls, or they are being trolls, and they're never gonna admit it, so they're just stirring the pot.
Well, this is where I was talking about the virtue signaling. I think initially when all this happened, a lot of it was this is what's going to get reactions. This is how we're going to run the story.
Mhm.
But I think it's gotten to the point where people, like, where this came from has kind of faded from their recent memory, and they're like, this is what's normal now. Like, it normalized this whole sensationalism and the virtue signaling that they all do. So now it's not ironic anymore. It's legitimately how they are. So
Yes, well,
a lot of
this
these
is
tabloids are saying like Chris Rock is racist and misogynist because of what he said. It's just a ball joke.
but so that's I think, like you're saying, I agree. When you start to, when you get into an area, a niche,
Mhm.
it's you mold to it as a
Mhm.
person. And if you all you're doing is thinking in one way fashion, it's like the bubbles that we
Mhm.
see. If that's all you're seeing, you're gonna keep going that way.
Yeah.
So if all you're doing is fucking trying to be a troll and be, going for the outrage, that's all you're ever gonna see. But like to me, the thing that kind of what I see with it is it seems more like he's in an unhealthy relationship that
Yeah.
he can't get out of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You see it a lot with women, especially in teenage women. They'll be in a very abusive relationship, whether that be emotionally or physically,
Mhm.
and they put themselves as the victim,
Yeah.
and so they won't leave.
Yep.
And to me, it like it looks like she has control over him. And
Well, there's a lot of things that she said that I wasn't aware of because, you and I don't really follow celebrity stuff for the most
no,
part.
we don't.
Um, I did not realize the extent to which I don't really know what to call this. She doesn't treat him very well. Like she doesn't have a lot of
No,
respect for him
no, not
based
at all. And
on the
that's kind
things
of
that
goes
I've
with it.
heard about her saying and seen her say in interviews. I don't know
Mhm.
what it's like behind closed doors and what they really like, but
Yeah,
to go
obviously.
on live TV and refer to your own husband as a beta male, that's problematic. And that's what she did.
But that's my point. Like I think he's in a emotionally abusive relationship,
Yeah.
and he can't get out of it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because if you look at the film, so the dude was laughing at the joke, like we all saw, laughing at the joke, and then next thing you know, he's walking on stage to smack the shit out of Chris Rock,
Mhm.
and then he's bullshit.
Yeah.
To me, he's probably more bullshit that she made him do something.
Yeah, so it looks like she pushed him to the point where
Oh, absolutely.
like he's got
She
to be
gave
like
him the
under
look.
stress because most people don't
Mhm.
react that way for
No.
one joke like that. That's just what it
Yep.
looks like.
Absolutely. And I think that's what it is. And again, people often look at this as a female issue
Mhm.
when it can go either way. You can have a abusive relationship and either male on male, female on female, male female, female male. It doesn't matter, right? It's just personality
Yeah,
types.
that's true. But when we're talking about like Chris Rock and the whole being accused of misogyny type thing, I think that's off
He's a
base because
comedian.
he is a comedian. It's his job to make fun of things that make people uncomfortable. But
Yeah.
I think from my point of view and the way that I read the situation was the joke was because she went from one extreme to another, long hair to bald. I
Mhm.
think he would have done the exact same thing if Jason Momoa shaved his head bald because that's an extreme difference.
Well, it's a comedian. So I look at it and I
Yeah.
say, whatever comes out of his mouth, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like maybe it's just me. I always just look at it as, and I live in the real world. I'm not a celebrity. As women are not women, wives are off limits, right?
Mhm.
I just don't. I'm not gonna make a joke about them. Now it's different. Like if I was really buddy buddy like with someone's wife, I'll give her shit to her face,
Right.
but that's it.
I think the rules are different for celebrities because there's not really anybody off limits if you're in a room full of celebrities and one is making fun of the others.
But I also think now, what is your thoughts on whether or not it was staged?
No, I don't think it was staged at all. I think it was just an unfortunate decision that I don't even think it's going to affect Will's career that much, to be honest with you. I think that once something else happens, it'll be totally forgotten.
You know, it's hilarious. How many award shows have you watched ever?
None that I
Okay,
can remember. So I don't
same
think
here.
any. Okay.
Same here. Next year, still won't be any.
I
It
think
won't
it's kind
change
of weird
anything.
that people watched it because if you think of it from a normal real world perspective. This is an award show for the company they work for, which is Hollywood.
Mhm.
It would be the same as if you and I worked for a company and went to a dinner, like an annual dinner where they give out Employee of the Year awards.
But am I
Outside of that, no one cares.
My understanding is for all these awards is that you have to, it's like a political thing.
Yeah.
Right? You have to like run for it.
Well, so is Employee of the Year at a big company.
You're not really running for it though. You're just you're probably brown nosing the shit out of everything.
That's campaigning, my friend.
But this is like actual campaigning.
Yeah, it is. But I you know what I found out that was really weird? I didn't realize that, because we don't watch this. When someone like Will wins an Oscar, the next year they're supposed to host, to give out the next one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's some kind of tradition. And it's so blown out of proportion, I think, because people want the distraction. Because if you look historically at what has happened at the Oscars, much worse shit has gone on.
I don't know. I don't think it's that big.
Yeah. To sum up my feelings of it, who cares?
Yeah, gives a shit.
The only thing that really bothered me was the public reaction that turned directly to racism, which didn't make sense to me.
Which I haven't heard.
No, you're not missing anything.
No.
Just more toxic internet garbage.
Did you see with the Hubble telescope?
Their big reveal today was just the oldest star in the universe. Yeah, that's not that interesting. It's funny because when you talk about Hubble, they're always talking about, we have this big reveal. And it's just something in space that does something more than another something that does the same something. Oh, you know what I wanted to talk about?
What?
The status of working class America.
Status how?
Like their approach to working, I guess, and what's happening. I'm not an economist, but I see some disturbing trends. Like a lack of interest in actually working.
Are you seeing this in your personal life? Or are you just saying off of from the Great Resignation?
I don't think the Great Resignation is exactly what it's portrayed as, but I have seen the shit in my own life, especially coming from the trades, which you've seen the same kind of thing.
What I do find funny is like seeing the ads that are definitely targeted towards people who are changing jobs to basically make them think they shouldn't be changing jobs.
I haven't seen any of those.
All the ones.
Tell me about one.
They're saying that. So they're saying that people who changed their jobs during the Great Resignation regretted doing so because they only did it for money, and now they're like, oh God, what did I do?
Oh yeah, I can see that happening. I don't disagree with the concept of people saying, my time is valuable and I think I should get paid more. Inflation's up, wages are not, all that shit. But there's this mindset that seems to have settled into, I don't even know what the demographic is. It's definitely younger people, even people in our age group, which we're in our 30s. It's really strange. So I come from the trades. You just did mechanic stuff, right?
Yeah, I worked trucks and heavy equipment.
So you were a heavy equipment mechanic type of thing. My background is in HVAC. It's kind of like the same thing, but on shit that doesn't have wheels on it.
Yeah.
So I was talking to my old boss earlier this week, and I don't do that anymore, you guys. Now I do other things with scrub marines, but I was talking, I needed a ductwork. So I called my old boss because they are a ductwork shop among many other things. And I said, hey, I'm doing a little residential thing for my aunt. I just need these sections of ductwork in these sizes. And we got onto the topic of the availability. And he was like, I don't know if I'll be able to do that. Normally this is like, it would take someone an 8-hour shift to make what I needed. And he's like, I don't know if I'll be able to do that because I'm pretty sure we're booked 7 to 8 months out. And I'm like, how the fuck are you booked that far out? He's like, we can't find anybody and people don't come in.
Yeah.
Now, when I was doing it, which is some 5+ years ago now, I could see that there were less young people coming in. You could visibly see that the workforce was aging. I left just because I don't like inclement weather, specifically the cold, as you guys know.
Let's put it really. Let's tell the truth here.
Gerry's a bitch. So ever since I developed an autoimmune problem, I have a serious cold intolerance. Like I used to work on skyscrapers up on the roof, fixing their equipment. It got to the point where if it was below 30 and I was up there for more than 20 minutes, like I couldn't feel my fingers and they were in like serious pain. So finally I was like, fuck this, I'm gonna go do something else. But there's a lot of people that don't have that issue. and a lot of young people that could go into those industries and make a lot of money, but they don't want to do it.
Well, do they not want to do it, or do they not have any sort of experience with it? Right? Because
I think that I think trades are devalued in their mind. They view them as beneath them.
Absolutely. Well, there's partly that, but I think also we've done that. Now, you went to a trade school, if I'm not wrong.
I did, yeah. So
I can't use you as an example, but like my high school, we didn't have anything. Like we didn't. Wood shop was gone, and this was a long time ago.
Yeah, in a normal high school, what did they call that?
Wood shop.
Was it just wood shop or just shop?
Shop, same thing.
Just shop, yeah.
But like, so people don't do that kind of shit anymore. So when did you first get into doing something? Because you're mechanical.
Okay. Yeah.
When did you first start doing things mechanical in life?
12.
And that was probably because of your parents?
No, my dad's from Europe, where they don't do that stuff unless it's literally their career. So
did you just get into it because of your own fascination?
Yeah. I thought moving things were cool, and I wanted to know how they worked, and so I would just take shit apart.
Okay.
Bane of my dad's existence, but eventually I was able to put things back together again.
Same here. I think the first thing I ever took apart was a Game Boy. When I put it back together, it did not work anymore.
No surprise there.
But I think a lot of people don't, if they do ever like think about doing that, their parents aren't leading them into it anymore, right? Because they think they can't make money there, which to a degree, they're right. But I just don't think there's anything that's like giving them that itch, right? Because I think you're a lot like me, where I need a problem to solve, right? I need a technical problem to solve. And if I don't have that, I'm bored out of my mind. Like my brain is all constantly finding some sort of technical problem to solve.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are steered into engineering, and maybe into the wrong engineering. Like there's broad engineering that people are put into, when we need to maybe create other aspects of engineering that would keep the same kind of level. Because what you and I do now is more towards an engineering thing. I just don't think people are given that taste anymore. You know, your parents aren't going to bring you in because they fucking take their car to get work done. They're not working on it in their shop or in their garage. They're probably not working on their house. They're paying someone else to do it. If something breaks, they just replace it. So what's ever going to give you that itch?
I don't really know. It kind of does surprise me though that you mentioned that even your high school, when you were there, didn't have a shop anymore.
And that was 20 years ago. Over 20 years ago.
Wow, you old ass bitch.
I mean, I'm an old ass bitch.
Well, I'm not that far behind you. I graduated in 2006. What year were you?
02.
Getting old, man. But
shit.
I don't know. I think that it does come up for a lot of these people, but when they see it, they're immediately dismissive of it. And I know younger people that are like, we'll call them 20, just broad spectrum 20-year-olds. I know a number of them because I have significantly younger siblings. And if you talk to them about something like trades, their immediate thought is stuff like plumbing, which to be fair, I wouldn't do plumbing. I think it's disgusting. But someone has to.
No, you can make good money doing plumbing.
You can. But what they're not realizing, you know, I'm sure you've seen the memes of like a mother with her little kid saying, if you don't go to college, you're going to be digging ditches like this guy here. And he's like,
or a janitor or some shit.
Yeah. And he's like, I'm part of a union and I make $80,000 a year. That's actually true. It really is. So when I left the HVAC trade, the pay scale was a huge swing. You could make anywhere from $16 an hour to $40, depending on where you live and where you are in your career. And back then, like the last time I really looked was like 2016. You could go on job sites like Indeed and you would see looking for a technician, you know, the average at the time amount of experience, and they were like 25 to 30 an hour. I go there now and you can see the exact same posting, same requirements, 36-ish to 45 an hour.
Well, HVAC is also kind of a niche, man. Like there are a lot of people can't figure that out. It's not hard.
Yeah, because it encompasses all the trades in one place, but the other trades follow. They're within dollars, and they've all come up like that. And it's because no one's doing it.
Well, I also think there's been a swing, right? Like if you looked at cars, let's say car mechanic, which I did for years. For years, it was always thought that like the people working on cars weren't that intelligent, right? But to work on a car nowadays, you have to have a lot going on. Like you can't just be like, yep, I unscrew this and I fucking put the oil in and I screw it back in and it's all good.
Those days are gone for anything.
Yeah, maybe.
They are.
But there's so much more to it now. I mean, even there was then too, but people just, they thought over it. And I think they're running into a big problem is now they're not getting people who are capable of thinking. They're not capable of understanding it. And if they can understand it, they're not going to sit there and be like, yeah, I'll make fucking $15-$16 an hour. No, and bust their ass. Not going to happen.
That
they don't want to raise their rates.
Yeah. Speaking of like being incapable of doing this sort of thing, I think on average, human capability has not decreased. Their experiences and education level has. But on one of the forums that I follow, I don't remember what it's called. It's education related. And I was following a conversation between college professors and high school teachers. And they have noticed a marked decline in independence and ability to solve complex problems. So
that's not shocking to me.
You were talking about like third year college level students who are struggling with the basic math concepts and order of operations, which I don't know when it was for you, but for me, order of operations was like 5th grade. It's pretty early.
I would say so. I also, we had a few years there, I don't know when, in the early 2000s, where parenting was changing. And we were going from a parenting of, I don't know what you want to call it. I don't know if it was really authoritarian to like, now we're friends. You know what I mean? And it became participation trophies and, it's okay if you didn't do your homework and shit like that. And now it was like a 3 or 4 year span. And then they came out and they're like, we need to stop this. There's an actual study on it. I'll have to find it. I remember one of it was going over like soccer games and how they weren't giving awards or anything like that. Right. And there was a psychologist who was like, we need to stop this like yesterday because we are causing significant delays in everything. And we're actually showing that this is not helping anyone. Like, yes, we should absolutely take into account everyone and they process things differently. But we're humans. We're pretty simple creatures at some levels. And we're competitive as hell. And if you don't give us these kind of goal things, we're going to flounder, What I find interesting with my kids, and I don't know if it's because I'm in a different state now. For those of you who don't know, I grew up in Massachusetts. I'm now in Rhode Island because no one can afford to be in Massachusetts anymore. My son is in 6th grade and they're learning about taking apart a motor, not an engine, a motor. So an electrical motor. And like seeing how it works and the fact with the magnetic fields and stuff like that. We didn't go over that in fucking high school or middle school. Like there was a very brief, like we made a solar powered car and that was it.
In middle school, I don't remember doing anything like that. But to be fair, I don't really remember my childhood from like 11 to 15. So I might be wrong.
But that was due to like you were on Ritalin or something, weren't you?
Oh yeah. Very good at erasing memories. Good thing I didn't go to church. Oh, cut that out.
Gerry was molested by everyone.
Lucky for me, I'll never know.
I don't know. I also just think people look at the trades and I think that's a harder work life. But to me, it can be very fulfilling.
It depends. I think we have an issue because of what you're talking about with the youth being coddled. Like the way that they were raised, I think it goes beyond being a helicopter parent because I think that's pretty normal. Even 60, 50-ish years ago, there were helicopter parents.
There were, but it wasn't the majority.
But they weren't doing what they're doing now where I don't think it's just the parents either. That I don't want it to sound like that's the big issue. There's a lot of different things contributing to this that I think compounded and made a massive problem that we're going to run into in the next 5 to 10 years. There's an entire generation that are coming up on their working years and are entering the workforce now that have started these trends. They are used to instant gratification and they don't know anything else.
I also wonder, when did they start working? What age did you start working?
13.
Which technically the illegal age, I think, is 14 for Connecticut, right?
Yeah, well, it's early 2000s, child labor, whatever.
Yeah. I did the same thing. So I was 14.
Yeah.
As soon as I could get a job, my dad was like, "You're getting a fucking job. Get the fuck out of the house."
Exactly.
So on what you were just saying about parents, I've had a beef on that one, right?
Tell me more.
That
Tell
I
me
think
more
about
about
it
this
all the time, and I think you'll like this on the interwebs.
Okay.
There's a lot of you'll find trending things like America sucks and things like that.
That is trending now. Yeah.
Very much so. But one of them is that like parents fucked up people, which not going to disagree that they did. But one thing that I think is often not thought of in that scenario, or that is assumed, is that the parents have their own shit figured out.
Right.
And
point
people
out
will say,
too,
well, then they shouldn't be parents. And it's like, listen, I plan to be 65, 70, 80, and still not know everything.
you should always be learning.
Yeah.
But I want to point out that these same people who are saying my parents fucked me up, you recognize the problem. You know your parents fucked you up. According to you, you also know how, which means you also know how to unfuck yourself. Well, I mean, where does your personal history and your personal responsibility, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, I can understand fixing oneself can be difficult, right?
Yeah.
You can know it all you want and not get there.
Mm-hmm.
But I just find it funny that there's a thing now where it's just, yep, blame the parents, but it's like, apparently the parent doesn't have a life and they're just infallible. You know, that one's always been going into my head a lot. And I think about when I'm talking with my kids or disciplining my kids, and there are moments when, you know, throughout the day, the aggravation is boiling and getting up there, and I shouldn't yell at my kids. But there are points where you're going to yell at your kids because the world fucking is just compounded. And you're like, you know what? Fuck it. We need to blast.
Yeah. I understand therapists and child advocates saying, don't yell at your kids, you know, scar them for life. I think they overestimate the amount of scarring, and I think they underestimate the need for a certain level of scarring.
Yeah. I mean, there's also a testing, right? Like kids are going to test you. They're going to push limits and see what they can get away with.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, if I didn't, I guess if I was home all the time and I didn't have anything else to worry about, I might be able to just constantly sit there with like just level tone and deal with everything. But I don't know. Life goes on, and you have to be able to see those variables and work with them.
I don't, like I said, I don't have an issue with yelling. I think yelling is pretty normal. I think that, especially the way that I view it in my own house, if you are feeling an emotion, this is the place to express it, because you're not going to get fired and you're not going to get shot. So if you think you need to yell, try it out. It might not work out for you, but I'm not going to tell you don't do it. You know, I don't allow disrespect, because you can't allow that, because then you end up with kids like we got now. But like in my house, what this is an interesting story that happened recently. It kind of gave me a deeper view into how my kids see me as a person and as an authority figure. So we were watching the new
inflatable tube man.
Yeah, I'm wacky flailing inflatable arm man. That's Dad. So we were watching, my son and I, my son's 11. We were watching the new Halo show, and I don't know if you've seen it, but
we'll get into that after this.
Yeah. So the very first episode, at the end of the episode, Master Chief takes his helmet off. That's kind of a weird thing to do.
It is for Master Chief, anyways.
Yeah, especially in the first episode. So my son, who's big into the lore and knows the whole story and the backstory, he's like, "Don't take the helmet off. You don't do that." Master Chief takes the helmet off, and I've seen the guy before. I don't know who he is.
Pablo Schreiber.
That's his name?
Yeah, he was in The Wire.
Okay. I don't have a problem with him as an actor.
No, he's a good actor.
I don't disagree with my son. I was like, that particular person caught me off guard as Master Chief. But my son was bullshit about it. He's like, that's not Master Chief. That doesn't look like him at all. And I was like, what does he look like? My son's like, well, not that. But we got to talking after the show was over, and we were talking about like the things that were wrong with the show in terms of how does it match up with the actual story. And then I'm on to Master Chief. I was like, well, what did you expect Master Chief to look like? Because clearly that wasn't what you wanted. And
I expected like Darth Vader just like burned to shit. Like,
right. I expected something a little more rugged looking. But my son says to me, well, I kind of thought he'd look a lot like you, but 8 feet tall.
So he doesn't actually know what he looked like. He just thinks.
Yeah. So I don't know the whole story behind Halo. I don't even know if you can literally see Master Chief's face anywhere.
In the games, no.
But what I thought was interesting, and on a level where I overanalyze things, like my son obviously didn't think about it this deeply, but the fact that he had a picture in his mind of someone who looked more like me under that helmet, I think it speaks a lot to what that dynamic looks like at home.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that sort of thing is missing in a lot of different households that have young kids right now.
It could be. I mean, I don't know. I don't look at other households. I'm not in them.
Well, you can look at it too when you can see how parents interact with their kids and how they talk to their parents or how they interact with them.
Oh yeah.
A lot of kids now, they feel like they have a lot more power and authority than they really do, or really should. Because apparently, if they feel like that, they probably have some level of authority they really shouldn't have at home. Now, I'm not a dictator. You know, if you look at Master Chief, he's a leader.
He is, people.
He's fair but stern. You know, he's not Mussolini. No, he's Master Chief, a legend in his own right. I don't view myself as a Master Chief, but I think it's an important dynamic in your household for that to be a subconscious connection with your kid. That level of respect, even if they give you shit all the time. You know what I mean? I hope my kid isn't turning out like a lot of these younger people who expect a lot of things that they haven't earned. That sort of thing tells me maybe he's not going to go down that road.
Maybe. You never know. I mean, I find it fascinating to watch and see how they turn out. And I expect one thing and I get it something else. And I think so much of that has to do with genes. I really do. Because I mean, I don't know.
My son wears a lot of sweatpants, Andy.
Yeah, that's a thing nowadays. I look at my 3 kids and the differences across the board, and I'm like,
very much.
I treat them the same. And yeah, they are very much their own people, but it's interesting to see how they change. But on the subject of the Halo show, because I got into this week with some people, and they're like, "Why haven't you watched it?" And what I said to them is, I don't want to pay for another fucking subscription service.
Yeah,
because it was fine. All right, I share mine with people, but so all right, I have Amazon and I have Hulu, which also is Disney, which is ESPN, but I don't use it. So you could also have HBO. You could also have fucking what else?
Well, the one for Halo is Paramount Plus. There's also Peacock.
So you got Paramount, you got Peacock. CNN's coming out with one, which I want to be like.
There's a huge CNN, plethora of different streaming services. It's out of control.
Fox
if you had all of them, your bill is already more than cable was 10, 15 years ago.
But that's my point. Like, I understand why they're doing it, right? Because they make more money if they do a subscription plan than they do if you just want to buy it. Great. I'm reaching the point where, you know what? I'm not going to watch that show because I'm not going over to your platform for one thing.
No. Speaking of that one thing, I wasn't going to get Paramount Plus either because that's what Halo was on. But I went and looked at it to see if I get the free trial because they all have that and just watch the show and then get rid of it. But Paramount Plus is pretty cheap. It was something like $50 for the year for the lower tier, which is all I need. You can have my login for that. I'll share with you, Andy.
Sweet. But you know what I'm saying? Like, to me, I don't want to have fucking 50 different things that I have to fucking log into. Oh, you've got YouTube TV, fucking,
it's mind-boggling the level of expanse that we're seeing with all these streaming services. I'm not keeping track of it. It's just way too much
bundled again, like fucking cable.
So some company or some number of these companies are going to make a backdoor deal and offer a deal where you pay one bigger fee and you get them all.
But like, let's take CNN, right? CNN's creating CNN Plus. CNN Plus. News is dying, right? It's on life support. COVID's kept it alive.
Without a doubt.
The war's kept it alive. If you become a fucking streaming service, where people pay you, I can't imagine you're going to get enough to keep you fucking running. Like, to me, that's you're going to get a few in the beginning. And as that generation dies off, because to me, it's a mostly older generation that's watching that shit. And they're just going to, all of a sudden, you're not going to you're going to die off. You're just sealing your own fate. Who's going to pay for CNN?
I think we're already seeing the results of that, though, with market saturation on streaming. I don't know what the numbers were, but Netflix had some issues with their quarterly earnings and growth being nowhere near their target.
Well, they upped their cost again.
Well, they upped their cost because their market for them is pretty much saturated. The people that are going to have it, they have it. Who else are you going to get to do it when everybody with an internet connection is already on it?
Well, so to me, there's a couple things on that. Whatever service you use is whatever service you use. I'm not biased towards one or the other. But if you look at them with an unbiased opinion, there are several that are bidding for what Netflix already does, right? But they offer something a little bit more. Amazon, even though I know I can understand not wanting to feed that fucking giant, but if it wasn't available for free, you could also buy it and have it, which to me is like the game changer there, right? I don't know why Netflix wouldn't do that. I understand there's a licensing issue there. At some point, those things you're gonna see some come and go, and others will come and get bigger.
Well, as we've already discussed recently off air, Andy, everything's going to subscription based.
Yeah, I hate it. Absolutely hate it. Let's talk about that.
As you guys know,
details on that though.
No, have you?
No, why would I?
There's
It's
not
Apple.
there's not enough details out yet. But as you guys know, I'm an Apple guy. I like my iPhone. I like the stability and the closed loop system. I don't like the weird shit that goes on Android because, in my opinion, destabilizes and slows down my equipment. Apple doesn't do that to me. Andy, you have the right to have the wrong opinion. We'll move on from that. However,
not arguing.
I can buy my phone. I own this outright. I don't owe money on this. Apple seems to think that the best course of action for them is to start a subscription service for cell phones. Now, I do understand why that is. From their perspective, for one, they want to make more money. And for two, the difference between each level of iPhone and each new iteration is minuscule, which I have an iPhone 11 and I have no reason to go to an iPhone 13 or 14 that's coming up, because at the end of the day, like one of our friends, Tony, has an iPhone 12. He got the same one as me, and it's the 11 here. He's got the 12, both red. The only difference I can see holding them is he has square edges and I have round edges.
But that we talked about this the other day, but for those who weren't there for that conversation, and this isn't a shit on iPhone. What is this? Is, I mean, since Tim Cook died.
No, Tim Cook is the guy in charge now.
Sorry.
What the fuck's his name? Steve Jobs.
Since Steve Jobs died, what? And I'm not saying that he had anything to really do with this, but since he died, as a timeline, what really innovative things have they done?
I really can't say. And admittedly, I don't know a lot of the history before Steve Jobs died because I didn't have an iPhone until, I don't know, 3 years ago.
I mean, to me, you got to give it to iPhone, unless you want to give it to BlackBerry, for starting the whole smartphone thing, right?
Mm-hmm. I would technically BlackBerry, but it was revolutionized 100% by Apple.
Yeah, I mean, BlackBerry, like they had the idea, but they were like the early ones that didn't really fucking do it well.
Yeah, the Palm Pilots and stuff like that.
Yeah, and maybe they gave the idea. I have no fucking clue. But since, a few iterations in, it really hasn't been anything groundbreaking. Most of what the shit that you're finding is it's being ported from another system, either from Apple to Android or Android to Apple or fucking Huawei or whatever. So like when it changes every year, or you're getting a new one every year, but nothing's changing, why am I gonna pay for it? Maybe the graphics really don't change much.
Right, and because of the stuff that I do with my phone, like I said, I have no reason to go from an 11 to the 13 or 14 when it comes out. I'm not going to gain anything except a bigger dent in my wallet. It doesn't make any sense. I don't game on it.
PP smacked for fucking making it to where older phones bricked.
Yeah, so, the updates to the older phones would slow them down, make the battery worse, shit like that. I do think that this is going to lead to a major issue, though.
Subscription, everything.
Effectively, to summarize what they're talking about doing with iPhone is a subscription service for the hardware. So let's just go with an arbitrary number, $30 a month. You pay a $30 subscription every month and you get your cell phone from Apple. With that, you'll always have the newest iteration as it comes out. The problem is, what are they going to do with all the old phones that nobody is now saving? We have a serious... Yeah, but you can only recycle so much of it. Sure. Like what's the recycle rate on batteries? It's not very good.
No. Well, we've talked about this on the show before as well. New battery tech, man. The battery tech is a fully recyclable battery.
Yeah, but they're not using that in Apple. Maybe they will. I'd imagine eventually they'll get to it, but that's a lot of waste. It's a lot of waste to convince me. Let's say I'm an average consumer, and however many probably billion users there are in Apple.
Do you think the average consumer thinks about the waste end of it?
Well, I'm not calling myself an average. I'm saying, let's just say for a minute, I'm the average user, and I go.
So you just did. You called yourself the average consumer.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Let's say Joe Schmo is the average consumer of Apple products, and they decide, I'm going with a subscription plan. I'm going to get a new phone every time it comes out. So every year or two, they send back their phone and get a new one. For one, that's a huge hassle to switch all your shit over. And for two, where's the old phone going? Because if everybody on this plan is getting the new one, there's probably not that many people left that are buying the old leftover phones that go back.
And are they is it only a subscription thing, or are they going to do a buyout plan, like if you want to just buy the phone? I don't know.
There's not enough information on that, but based on the way things have gone in the past in other companies, I would be willing to bet they're not going to allow you to purchase the phone, which also opens up consumers to an issue with repairability and things like that. So if you have a subscription plan, you don't ever actually own that phone. You're renting it basically, which means you can't do shit like, if you wanted to unlock it for whatever reason, you can't do that without their permission. You can't fix it without their permission.
What if it was like this? What if, phones have been getting more expensive over the years, right? if you look at the latest iPhone with all the bells and whistles, you're over $1,000, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, the top level iPhone right now is $1,300 or $1,400.
Yeah, okay, so $1,400. That's a lot of money, man.
For a cell phone, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And what if the next technology would make it to where to buy that phone is like $2,500 or $3,000?
Well, we're on our way. There's no doubt that
but what
we
if
are
that
within
was
10
why
years
they're
of that.
looking at the subscription plan, because they know no one can afford that. No one realistically can afford that. And the next big thing is the fucking, like, you know, bee's knees, like your phone blows you and you didn't even know it.
Imagine you not noticing that. You know what? I will be getting the Tony Stark glasses when they come out. Have you seen those?
They already did. The HoloLens.
No. Bosch is making them, and they keep pushing it back like every new technology. But they look just like no, they're not really aviators. They look just like Tony Stark's glasses. You know what they look like.
We'll put it on screen.
But they have the temple bar on the inside. It shoots a little laser into the lens that bounces into your retina, and it projects what would be on a screen into your eyeball. And so you can do all your shit, and it's projected as a heads-up display in front of you. Like if you wore them while you were biking, you'd have a heads-up display map with you. It's probably bad for your eyes, but I'm going to get one.
I mean, to me, heads-up displays always been the way is that. Like
I can't tell you how much I love heads-up displays. I haven't.
Yeah, I mean, the HoloLens. Looking at that a few years ago, for those of you who don't know what the HoloLens was, same idea. It's just you put on these glasses and you wear it in a room, and you could do whatever the hell you wanted.
Yeah, that's augmented reality.
I've thought of that for years. Even cars. When are we going to reach a point where it becomes the whole dash becomes a heads-up display? Where
we're probably not that far off.
Instead of having a computer over here where it says take a left turn and fucking you're looking down to see where this left turn is going to be. Because if you're like me, you don't trust them saying left turn and this is the one I need to take. To where it literally superimposes it over the road so you can see where you're going. Or like, hey, it's always putting up the speed on what the speed is posted as plus what your speed is.
I don't know of any systems that will project it in a way that makes it look like it's on the road, but there are. You have to have seen the heads-up displays that it gives you the GPS on your window in front of you. Like my car has the speed. It has a couple different things like the cruise control setting, the lane assist.
It wouldn't be that hard to take it and make it look like it had put it on the road.
No, it's just perspective,
just math.
Yeah,
exactly.
I would love that. But like I said, that's why I want the Tony Stark glasses. Then but the heads-up display is in my eyeball.
Well, fuck it. Just replace your eyeballs.
Listen, I've already told you when we get bionic parts, I'm in. You don't have to convince me. That could lead us into Repo Men.
Repo Men?
Yeah, where your bionic limbs are a subscription service. I'm going to get that big bionic hog.
Bionic hog.
For those of you not in the know, a hog is a dick.
It's Johnson.
Well, that's it, Andy. That's enough of my ranting and raving for 1 week. Next week, we'll have a guest on to keep me in line.
Thank God. Obviously, with an outro this week, you're hearing us, so there's not much for us to talk about, but a few things we probably should bring up because it's been a while. It's where to find all our shit.
It's called the internet. So tell everybody, Andy, where do they find us?
You can find us at YouTube and you look up Beautiful Bastards Podcast. Once you're on there, we have all the links right there for you. It's the easiest way to find us. Thank you again for listening to Beautiful Bastards. New episodes every Monday. Remember to like and subscribe. Oh, look, Frost.
Let me tell you something about stepping in people's cornflakes. It's a strange way to eat cornflakes.
It's weird way to eat cornflakes.